This is Eric Rutan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew McKay Smith.
Greetings, one and all. Thanks for joining me. I have a conversation with Soilwork's Danish drum maestro, Bastian Thusgaard, to share with you. The catalyst for the conversation with Bastian is the launch of a new album from Soilwork titled Övergivenheten. Throughout this conversation, of course, we talk about the album, but something which is just as prominent and notable for Bastian is his approach to session work and also drum. He's a drum educator. Before we dive into the conversation, I'd like to share a tune with you. This one is, of course, from Övergivenheten. It is titled Dreams of Nowhere, and once it is done, we'll dive into the chat. Let's go.
Believe these words can escape your curse.
Bastian, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. How have the calls been going in support of the album?
It's been very great. I think people seem to be happy about the new songs, and we got to play a few festivals this year as well, playing the new songs. So that's been great.
Yeah, it's always nice when you can get the new songs out there. What's the reaction been like from your perspective? Have people been acknowledging the new songs and they've been cheering for them?
Yeah, I think they have. It's always interesting because you see, like, usually there are a few top comments that are sometimes bragging a little bit. Like they want us to go more old school or whatnot. But still, from the streaming numbers and everything, it seems like people are really taking the new stuff. So that's good. And playing those songs live is it's been great as well. So
no, fair enough. Yeah, look, you did play. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you played on A Wisp of the Atlantic, certainly Övergivenheten. But does it now feel like as though you're part of the setup with the group? Do you feel part of the band?
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't know if I can say too much, but yeah, I sure feel like a part of the band. Absolutely.
How does it work then in terms of songwriting contributions and sharing your ideas? Did David and do Speed, do they actually encourage you and invite you to share your perspective on how songs should be written?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I usually work a little different with David than I work with Björn. David and I have more of like a communication going on, approaching the studio, and he would send me demos that are like in a rough form or so, and then usually I ask him to just give me the pulse, basically, so I know if he thinks of the guitar riffs as like a fast, flashy song or more of a melodic, slow song or whatever. So I'll try to work around that, and then I have a lot of freedom to come up with my parts and my take on the songs. And Björn usually have some like rough ideas, but also acknowledges like my input to the songs. And this time around, he wrote all his songs in the studio, and there was a new approach for me. It was really fun, actually, but it was something like getting the demo the night before, and then the next morning I would work on my drum parts and then have a sit down with Björn, and then we were like, so is this what we're going to record? And then we went for it. So for his songs, it was really like a fresh, fresh impression for me drum wise. So it's really interesting to record like that.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Hey, are you in a Night Flight Orchestra as well?
No, Björn and David, but Rasmus, our new bass player, he's been filling in for them as well.
Okay, yeah. The line between the two groups is increasingly blurred, I'm finding, in that the melody is coming through, because I've spoken to Speed a bunch of times, and David too. I've spoken to David once, but certainly Bjorn or Speed I've spoken to a bunch of times about the groups. What I always find intriguing about having two prominent groups and spearheading two prominent groups is, how do you separate the ideas? And that's what I mean by, I can certainly hear, and I'm undoubtedly going to mispronounce the name of the album, but it's Övergivenheten. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's close enough. Övergivenheten, I would say,
gotcha.
But it's Swedish. I'm Danish.
Oh, is that right? You're Dane. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Right. How are you guys going to sort out your World Cup preferences then?
Sorry?
How are you guys going to sort out your football World Cup preferences?
It's easy because the Swedes, they care about soccer. I don't.
Denmark are pretty good these days, I think, aren't they?
Yeah. I heard. I got a message. I think it was 2 days ago from a friend. He was like, "Hey, Spain is going to destroy you," and then I replied today, like, "Are we playing?" So I miss it all.
Oh, well, you got the drums to focus on, and you're pretty bloody good at it. It's got to be said. So, you are. How's Blastable Drumming going?
It's slow, but it's that was what I expected, to say the least. Because it's a new thing, and you have to convince people to give it a shot. And but I have active members in there, and it's been really fun to get some feedback from the users. And so it's going to be interesting to sort of get into this set routine, because right now it's been like a lot of album campaign, and did festivals for the first time in 2 years, and I launched that. So I'm trying to find the right balance in it all. But I'm happy that I finally got to the point where I could launch it for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'll make an observation. 30 years old isn't strictly that young, but it's certainly not that old either. When you were talking to your family and your parents about focusing and dedicating so much of your time on drums and percussion rather than, say, a career in, engineering or economics, that sort of thing, were they perceptive?
Yeah, I mean, they have always been really supportive. I'm also out of a quite musical family. So like my father, he's been a guitar teacher his whole life. And my siblings used to play a lot as well. And my older sister, she has a degree at the music conservatory.
Okay.
As a pianist. So it was always something that was quite close to me and my family. But I'm the only one, though, who went for it 100%.
Yes.
But there's always been a lot of understanding, and I guess it also made more sense when I got to the point where I was like, so I'm going to South America now for 2 weeks to tour. And but they've been out seeing the shows a lot of times also. And it's always something special.
I bet it's fantastic. Yeah, especially touring South America. I mean, one of the only places that's as far flung from Sweden as Australia is South America. So how did you find that tour?
That was quite interesting. It was like my first real tour, I think, with Soilwork in the very beginning. And I never really traveled that much before starting with Soilwork. So it was quite interesting to fly for I don't know how long and then tour South America. It was funny though, because we flew to Rio, and then the band forgot me at the airport.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
They just forget they had a drummer, did they, or something else?
Yeah, I mean, it was like I told one of I guess everyone was jet lagged, and I told one of our crew guys, hey, so I'm going to the bathroom real quick, don't leave. And then I came out and there was no band, and I was like, I guess they couldn't park here. Then I went up the street, and then I realized, okay, they left.
Oh my God.
So I tried to call a few of them, and then when I got a hold of it was the guitar tech. I could just tell from his voice, he was annoyed with me for calling because I was in the same car, and he probably wanted to sleep or something.
Oh,
and then I explained the situation, and he was like, excuse me, driver, can we return? We forgot our drummer. And then I just heard the entire car crack up, laughing. So it was fun. But after that call, I took a selfie and sent to my family saying, arrived safely, but got left behind.
It's not a bad place to be stranded, Rio, is it?
Yeah. I mean,
it could be
English
worse.
will do most of the time, but also I guess Spanish would be better or something. But I know that.
Yeah. Well, Spanish, Portuguese, English, it's all sort of language in that part of the world, isn't it? Less so English, but yeah. So you are an educator as well. We've talked about Blastable Drumming. What are the most common questions that you answer from students?
I think there is a lot about like technique, foot technique, hand technique, and endurance and speed, of course. And I know it's a big part of playing in like most metal subgenres. And it's a necessary evil, I would say, because of course you have to have great technique so you don't destroy yourself or get injured. But also it's much more interesting, I think, to not be as focused on the actual speed and endurance, but like be focused on how can you complement a band and how can you be creative within those techniques. So that's something I'll always try to inspire a little bit, because I would say those are the most common questions, like foot technique, hand technique.
Yeah. I reckon from the sounds of things, you could probably play any style you want. So why metal?
I mean, I think there was just something about the energy in that genre. I do play a little bit of other genres, but I could improve drastically, I would say. But it was like I started learning like more all-round music, and then it was something like back to my father being a guitar teacher. One of his students was in a metal band, and they played a gig in my town, and then the next day I just bought a double pedal because I was completely mind blown. So I guess it was just attending one of those shows that really started it, and I think there's another level of intensity in this genre that I really like.
Mm. Yeah, that's great. And were there any drummers in big bands like Peter Sandoval from Morbid Angel that you especially favoured as well?
I mean, I think like I was a little bit slow into the like all the icons and all those drum heroes. Maybe because I'm not super old or something yet. I don't know, but I was maybe a late bloomer, like with all those drum legends. So some of them I'm still discovering these days, and it's really cool. But I was like very inspired of another Danish drummer called Morten Løve. He's in Amaranth now.
Okay,
but he was like back at that time he was like in several death metal bands, and he had something that no one else had, I think, and also drummers like obviously Dirk Bjørn and Peter Vildor as well from Darkane. Mm-hmm. Those were some of the like main influences, I think.
Yeah, do you know Dirk at all?
Yeah, I mean, I know him. I first met him at like a tour lesson when they were coming through Denmark. That was sort of how I got to know him, and then after that, I basically we kept in touch over maybe 2 years or so. He was always really kind to like guide me through some stuff, because I guess him coming from Belgium, and he had to travel out to pursue his dreams, and also being in Denmark, it's not very big here, the metal genre, so you have to sort of look across the borders. Luckily, it seems like there's something happening now in Denmark, but at the time where I was growing into it, there was not much. So he was sort of like a mentor, I guess. And then all of a sudden, he just asked me to fill in for him when he was going out with Megadeth. So
yeah. he's a lovely fella, actually. I've spoken to him once, but it was a long conversation, and he just struck me as being very humble and down to earth.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, for his station these days, I mean, he's playing good. I mean, I don't think it's easy for any musician to work with Dave Mustaine, but I especially think for the drummer, it's challenging.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I don't know how he does it. I mean, he's clearly got the right mindset, and the temperament is the key word, I think, for it.
Yeah.
Would you, I mean, Soilwork and working with Bjorn and David's fantastic, but do you aspire to, I'm just saying, for example, if a Megadeth or a Slayer or somebody like that, I mean, I know Slayer are off the grid these days, but if they knocked at your door and they wanted you to audition, would you do it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, it's perhaps it depends on the situation, because if everything would work out, I think I would. But at the same time, I also really feel that Soilwork was like, I have other bands next to Soilwork, but for me, Soilwork was always the band that allowed anything, pretty much. So everything what I brought into music and wanted to do with music was something that I could realize in Soilwork. So on the creative side of things, I would say it's the most perfect fit for me. But obviously, making a living out of it and business side of things. I also do session stuff. So yeah, if everything worked out, I'm sure it would be something to pursue.
Yeah. Hey, did you play drums, session drums on that Abbott album, the most recent one?
No.
That was Övergivenheten, I think. Was
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been asked, just with scheduling conflicts? I know we're talking about the session side of things here, but due to commitments with Soilwork, have you been asked to participate in sessions like with Abbott, but unable to do so?
No, I mean, there has been some like interest for some bands. I don't know if I can mention it, but I mean, but there has been, but not like people going directly after me. It was more sort of like, we're gonna ask a bunch of guys, and then my schedule didn't work out so well. But yeah, that's the thing. It's always very. Yeah, it can be hard to make everything work with schedules and
yeah. I can imagine. But I reckon you're the bloke. Have you heard of? Oh, look, you hear these rumors. God knows, I've done enough conversations and I've talked about this a little bit. But you hear rumors of the guys in Green Day not playing on their albums and bringing in session musicians to do it. Guys like you to come in and when because people are busy or what have you, and they think, well, we've only got a week to do the drums, so we might as well bring in a session gun like Bastian rather than have Trey Cool do it, this sort of thing. But have you heard of that? Have you heard of that going on? And has there been any conversations with you about maybe doing that sort of work?
No, actually, I'm quite surprised that you mentioned Green Day for this. But yeah, that's not the best news, I guess. But I mean, I've heard like on some productions that they need to bring in someone, because usually time is limited and they need someone to nail everything. But no, I haven't personally been approached to be like a problem solver in some other production.
Well, drumming, I think it's very common. Of course it would be, because it's probably the hardest thing to get right in the studio, as you know. I reckon studio, or, not so much studio sessions these days, because a lot of it's done remotely, but getting the drums right is crucial. It's like Dean Castronovo stepping in for Hole's drummer back in 1998, but he was actually credited then. But, I mean, that must be so common.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it happens a lot, because... yeah, and especially with drums, it's a tough instrument to both play and record also. And I think also it has a lot to do with the producer you're working with. Yeah. Like we've grown really tight with Thomas Pleck Johansson, who did the last two albums and the EP. And this last time for this recording, I had a conversation with him saying like, it's like he's an extension to our musicianship in the band, because he really gets what we want to do, and his overview of things is insane. Because like what I prefer when I'm in the studio tracking is usually I come in really prepared. So for me, it's just to get it over with. I love to be in the studio, but I also love to get it done.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like doing a few good takes, and then sometimes we have some stuff we need to improvise more, and that's where I can lose my overview of things. So I have to check with him, like, do we have it? And then if we have it, he's gonna tell me, and then we'll make something good out of it.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Hey, look, I'll make this my final question for you. Have you been to Australia?
Yeah, I was there. Before the pandemic, I guess in was it 2020 maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I was there last time. Then and now returning this November.
Oh, you okay? Gosh, has that been announced yet? If I've missed it, apologies. But you're coming back in November with Soilwork.
Yeah. We have 5 shows in November.
Why haven't I found out about that one yet? Gosh, I must have missed the email if that's the case. That's great. That's fantastic because I'll be at those shows.
Yeah, nice. It was. It was just recently announced.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry, I thought it wouldn't. Yeah, I've got to get so many emails these days, and
and everyone is going out again, so I can imagine the inbox.
It's not been the inundation that I thought it was going to be, to be frank. Okay. And I don't know whether that's because the venues are asking for too much money or the promoters aren't putting up that much money or what have you at the moment. But I mean, before the pandemic, I've got to say, it was ridiculous. We had like 2 or 3 bands a week coming through town. It was about that much. So you literally had to choose just based on how much time you had. If you're a young guy, I didn't have a family. I've got a family. So I'm lucky if I can go out sort of once a month. But I mean, if you were really connected to the scene and wanted to see all of the bands that were coming through, mate, your bank balance was really going to suffer. You know? Yeah,
I can imagine it's crazy sometimes. Well, I guess we're going to see it all over.
Yeah. Well, I remember as a kid, you'd be lucky if one good band came through town once a year. You know, like in the 90s, Megadeth came through in they didn't even come through in the 91 or something like that. And I mean, that was even slightly before my time. 91, I was too young back then. But the point is, when Sepultura, I distinctly remember when Sepultura and Pantera toured, 1994, that was the biggest 2 tours of that year. And that was it. There were a few other bands that toured around that time, but you distinctly remembered that. These days, you've got bands of the quality of Pantera and Sepultura, like you guys, like Soilwork, touring almost once a fortnight, once a month, and I think we'll get back into that groove again. So I hope there's all sorts of logistical issues, as you've probably seen, supply chain logistical issues and baggage being lost and all this sort of stuff as the airline industry scramble to make sense of themselves after being out of business for 2 years. So I hope it all sort of works out. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can tell you, like logistic wise, it's a rough summer. With the strikes and the lost luggage and everything. Luckily, we took the hits on the way back home from festivals.
Is that right? So far,
yeah. So because it would, it's crazy to think of. Like if you have a canceled flight to the show, then there's not much to do. And luckily for us, it's been on the way back. It's not that joyful either, but at least we got to play the show. So
yeah, there's been a few bands affected by that. I know Catatonia were affected by it on a festival appearance recently. So it's pretty common at the moment. And what can you do? I mean, you can't fly in a week before, can you? You've got to fly in the morning of or the night of, that sort of thing, just for scheduling. Yeah. Well, it's been fantastic to have a chat, mate. Congratulations on doing it. On being a drummer, great drummer. I have a feeling, mate, you're going to, I understand that, Övergivenheten is a great album. Soilwork is a great band, but I think we'll be seeing a lot more of you in other bands down the line. So I look forward to having a chat with you later about them as well.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for saying it.
Thanks, brother. All the best with it.
You too. Lovely chat.
Thanks, mate.
All right.
No worries.
Bye.
Okay, catch ya. There he is, ladies and gents. What a fantastic fella. Bastian Thusgaard, the Danish drum maestro, currently on the tools with Soilwork. If you enjoyed that conversation, there are many more just like it over at scarsandguitars.com. If you like listening to the podcast, maybe you'll like reading about it as well, because I've written a book. Click on the link in the banner and you'll be taken to a marketplace of your choice. You can download a sample, and if you do complete the purchase, hit me up, because I want to thank you personally. And on that note, here's a little bit more about the book. But before I let you go, my name is Andrew Mackay-Smith and I'm the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast series. Until next time, have a great one.
This is Eric Rattan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew Mackay-Smith.
I've been the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast since 2017. The first musician I interviewed for the show was David Vincent from Morbid Angel, and things have just snowballed from there. In all, I've posted almost 650 podcast episodes featuring conversations with many of the leading lights of rock, heavy metal, and beyond. It just got to a point where I thought, I need to write a book about all this, so that's exactly what I did. In Scars and Guitars Volume 1, you'll read a heap of deep reveals and commentary, such as Des Fafara talking about Coal Chamber and why the band will never return.
You know, if you're a band just starting out, you need to hear me. Do not start a band with partners. Ever.
Yeah, wise words there. Sage advice, mate, for anybody.
Don't ever, because I can't go do Coal Chamber right now unless I get others involved.
Phil Anselmo talks about the episode in his career which gives him the greatest sense of accomplishment.
I think the staying power of the fans and the staying power of the songs, you know, whether it's Pantera, Down, or Superjoint, the fans remember the songs.
Alex Skolnick from Testament confirms that, yes, playing the guitar in Ozzy's band is anything but an ordinary gig. Will Silenos from Dimmu Borgir write a book? Pa from Sabaton gives advice to people who want to start a band.
Look at the team around you, look at the bandmates. If the guys want to be on the stage, then it's all cool. If the guys want to be backstage, then it's not going to be cool.
Current and former members of Cradle of Filth discuss the band's seminal 90s material. Read about the reaction to George Lynch and Mark from Suicide Silence's comments when they throw shade at then President Donald Trump.
We have this idiotic monster, you know, this egotistical, self-aggrandizing, complete piece of shit in there. I just can't understand how we've gotten to this place.
And yeah, we kicked a hornet's nest with Sepultura. Percussive overlord Gene Hoglan talks about recording with Chuck Schuldiner.
Chuck was always, he was very, very open-minded, and he was into having his musicians that were playing with him just reach out for the best stuff that they had.
Phil Campbell from Motorhead discusses what it takes to get sober. John Five answers his critics who dismiss his tenure with Marilyn Manson.
You know, my name is John Five, and Manson gave me that name, and I had some of the best years of my life in that band and learned a lot. And
we get the lowdown on Treyarch Zagtoth from those who would know, including his mother. All across Scars and Guitars Volume 1, there are moments of tension, relief, tragedy, exhilaration, and throughout it all, you'll obtain insight that I believe no one else has managed to obtain from many of your favourite artists. So treat yourself. Scars and Guitars Volume 1 is currently available as an ebook with a print edition on the horizon. Follow the links attached and download a sample. I'm sure you'll be compelled to read the whole book.